Today we're making apple crisp. I actually have a good number of apples and some packets of flavored oatmeal that the kids don't particularly care for, but that will go just fine on an apple crisp. It's actually an apple cinnamon flavored oatmeal, which for some reason they don't particularly care for. So I am going to mix up some of that with some plain oatmeal, and some brown sugar, and some butter, and I'm just kind of making the recipe up based on other things I've baked before. I am just trimming up some apples. Some of them are a little old, and so I am just looking out for any ugly brown spots and cutting those out. Otherwise, I'm just getting rid of the seeds and core and the skin. You can actually leave the skin on if you want to. You just want to wash them well. Your apple mousse, when it's all baked, will end up being pink if you do that with a red apple. And it's not a big deal. It's if you ever make homemade applesauce with red apples, you don't have to bother peeling them, and you will end up with pretty pink applesauce without any artificial colorings or anything like that. So I have, let's see, this is third apple. I think I'm going to end up using 4 apples today. They're not real big, so 3 to 5 apples is really common for a dish this size. I am using a small ramekin sort of dish, and I'm not being real particular about the thickness of the apples or anything like that. The thinner they are, the more mushy they will get, so I've kind of got a mixture of slightly thicker and slightly thinner, so that you'll kind of get a nice mixture of texture in the actual body of this. Difference between apple crisp and apple crumble is an apple crisp always includes oats of some kind, which provides a kind of a crunchy topping, whereas an apple crumble, which is a little bit more British, probably other European countries as well, but I know it from the UK. An apple crumble is mostly flour, sugar, kind of crumbs on top. They get slightly crispy, but they're a lot softer than a crisp. There's all different kinds of fruit things like this. There's things like a slump, where you put batter in the bottom of a dish and you throw fruit on top of it. It's like an apple brown Betty is cake batter. You can make muffins with apple in it. They're all kind of really good ways of getting your apple a day without directly eating your apple a day. Alright, so let's see here. Yeah, I want that one more apple. Okay, so we're going to have 4 apples today of a medium size. You can see I'm just putting my paring knife under the edge of the skin. It might take a little bit of practice, but you're just trying to lift the skin up and not take apple if at all possible. I could use my peeler. I actually have several. With apples, it kind of depends. I find the peeler to be as much, if not more work than the knife, but it's not a huge deal one way or the other. And as you can tell, I'm not making pretty slices in any way, shape, or form. Alright, almost finished. And we will see what our topping is going to look like. Our ingredients are going to be 4 packages of individual serving flavored oatmeal, whatever that has in it, which I'm sure is sugar, probably some milk powder, things like that. And I am going to mix that with some brown sugar. I prefer dark brown sugar. You could use white sugar, you could use light brown sugar. It's not going to be a huge deal. The brown sugar, it just gives it a bit more of a caramel tone. Dark brown sugar in particular gives it a little bit of a molasses flavoring to it, which I particularly like. I do actually have molasses in the cabinet, but I don't want to go that far today, so just a bit of brown sugar. And I will use butter and let's see what else. Oh, probably some more just plain oats, which I have plenty of in my cabinet. Sorry, I just had to look because I wasn't absolutely sure. But yes, I can see it in the cabinet. We have oats. Excellent. There are occasions, I guess, where I run out of oats, but not too often. Let's see. I'm not a big oatmeal eater, but I do like things like apple crisp, and so for me this is going to be like a breakfast treat if it gets past the kids very long. We'll see. It's one of the reasons I've used a deeper dish is I'm trying to use more apples and less oat stuff on top, although that should be pretty good. Okay, that was our, what did we say, 4 or 5 apples? All right, let me grab another bowl. And I just have 4 packets of oatmeal here. Smells nice and cinnamony. Frequently when I make apple crisp, I don't use cinnamon, but this comes with cinnamon, so this one's going to be a cinnamony one. But I grew up on apples having a good flavor without necessitating cinnamon, so I like it both ways. Cinnamon is used with apples in the United States almost exclusively. Alright, so that's a good volume. I'm just going to play this by eye. I'm adding a handful of brown sugar. And maybe 2. We're going to do 2 handfuls. We're going to be decadent. That was a handful and a half. We'll call that good. Say 2 tablespoons of butter, so about that much. I'm just going to kind of chop it in here. It doesn't actually need to mix in particularly, it's just going to be placed on top. And this is, you know, if you see a traditional crisp or crumble recipe, that's very similar. Some oatmeal here, just the standard old, and I'm just going to add a handful or 2 more, see that the texture looks good. I could add nuts, I could add raisins, which I hate, all sorts of things like that. You can add chopped nuts to the topping, make it even more crumbly. And I'm just kind of mixing it, squishing it at the same time. Make sure the texture is decent. It smells good. And we're going to need some more butter across the top. This is feeling a little on the dry side. And I actually have a good amount, so I'm going to give it a little bit of a press. I got carried away. But then I also have a deep dish with a nice amount of apples in there, so I could have technically, I guess, layered that instead of just making all of it a topping. Yeah, that should be good. Alright, let's give that another 2 tablespoons of butter. I do not believe in, going shy on the butter. Butter's good. I guess I get very southern when it comes to my butter. I would rather have a small amount of butter than a large amount of any sort of margarine or any of the fake stuff. And yeah, that looks good. Alright. So we're going to take this to the oven. And yes, it's all a mess, sorry. Oh, and I already have some sweet potatoes roasting for something later today. And we're at 350, and I'll bake this for probably 50 minutes. Alright kids, see you later.